Welcome to Starkey Soundbites. I'm Dave Fabry, Starkey's Chief Hearing Health Officer and host of today's episode. I feel a little bit like both Wayne and Garth all rolled up into one with this guest, where they had the opportunity to meet him. And in the words of Garth, I get to stay and hang out with yous.
You're worthy.
We're not worthy. Yes, and I get
worthy.
to kiss. May I kiss your ring? Yes. So before we dive in, a quick note to our listeners: if you enjoy this conversation, we invite you to like, rate, and review the podcast, and so that you don't miss an episode. Please subscribe. Thanks in advance. So Alice Cooper is a rock star and artist and performer who really needs no introduction. You've had a more than 60-year career, and I can tell you that I've been a huge fan since I was just a kid growing up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. The very first big concert that I went to was in 1975.
Oh,
Welcome to My Nightmare Tour.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I remember it vividly in terms of every song. There was a big spider that you had.
There was nothing like that ever on any rock stage, because that was the idea behind it. It was truly like a Broadway show, except it was a horror comedy hard rock show. The band was amazing, and we just said, let's go for it. Let's make this different.
It was transformative for me, I can tell you. I'm a drummer. It's great to be sitting in this room surrounded by all of these amps. For those of you who are watching us on the YouTube channel, there's a drum kit over on the side, and it's taking every fiber of my being not to pick up the sticks. But I was a drummer already by that time, and going to that concert, that performance, changed my life. And I want to thank you for that.
Well, and this is the thing about that era. That was the golden era. We were the next generation after the Beatles. And nobody expected your little band to last more than 5 years.
Right.
That was it. If you got to 30, that was like, oh, you're ancient. Nobody saw the Rolling Stones going till they're 80 years old, or Alice Cooper till he's 75, 76 years old and still going. Aerosmith. Nobody saw that. That would have been just so crazy and irrational. And yet that's part of the problem with the hearing. We never took care of our hearing.
No.
We never wore in-ears because they didn't exist.
Right.
You turned it up, and rehearsal was in a room this big with those blasting as loud as they could. Because you didn't want it to be light. You wanted it loud.
You wanted to hear and feel everything coming with the music.
That was it. You wanted to feel the bass. You wanted to feel, and we were just too dumb to even think about our ears. So at this point now, I would say anybody that's in this business and still around after 60, 50 years, something like that, and there's a lot of bands that are out there, all have hearing problems.
And I can tell you that I work with a number of other musicians. None in my experience that has had, you've been nominated or won awards in 6 decades. I mean, did you ever think that you would have that length of that career?
Well, no, except for the fact that I always knew that the show was different than anybody else's show. And more than anything else, we learned this very early. If you don't have the songs, don't do a show.
Right.
In other words, don't try to do something theatrical if you don't have the songs to back it up. It's like, don't dress elaborately if you can't back it. You have to be able to back that stuff up. We grew up learning from the Beatles, learning from Burt Bacharach, learning from these incredible songwriters, and then we decided, how do we make that ours?
Right.
Okay, you have to learn Chuck Berry first. You have to learn the Beatles. You have to learn. Then you start developing your own plant. And for us, we were more of a Yardbirds Who type of band, and then took it in our direction. But we borrowed a little from West Side Story. We borrowed a little bit from James Bond themes. We borrowed from TV themes, and we let them come into the music and be there, because that was our influence. John Barry and people like that. But that's how it happened. But nobody expected 30 albums.
No, 30 albums. It's just remarkable.
And still going. I've got another one coming out next end of this year.
I know, and I looked at your tour schedule that begins in a couple weeks, and it's insane.
Yeah.
So, well, and I think really for me, that's what characterizes you too, is that your music and your performances defy description.
Yeah.
Like you said, and I'm bastardizing the Picasso quote, but he says, you'll have to master the rules like a pro so that you can break them like an artist. And I think you've done just that. And I think even among your friends and admirers were both Groucho Marx and Salvador Dali.
Yeah.
And both wanted to take credit for the bigger influence. Who was more right?
And that is really true. I mean, we were art majors in school. Most of the guys in the band were. And the other two guys were just total juvenile delinquents, right out of the Bowery Boys. These guys were right out of the Bowery Boys, or Guys and Dolls, But the thing about it was we would do the show, and Groucho Marx would be there. I don't know why, I don't know how, and he saw it as vaudeville. So, it's vaudeville, George Burns he'd bring George Burns, and George Burns would go like, Gracie and I used to work with a guy in vaudeville back in the 20s, used the guillotine like that, and we're sitting there going, these are the people I wanted to meet.
Exactly. And they were coming to your show.
Mae West, Fred Astaire, they all came to the show. And they saw it as vaudeville. They were not shocked by what we were doing at all. Now, Dali comes to the show and sees it as surrealism.
Sure.
Because everything was about Dali. And we were art majors, and he was our hero. So, yes, there was Dali in our show. There was crutches. There was all this stuff was influenced by those people. But everybody that saw the show saw it in the way they saw it, the way they wanted to see it.
Sure.
And I went, that's what it should be.
That's really great art, isn't it? If you see a reflection of what your belief structure is.
As long as it's entertaining, as long as it doesn't, when people leave the show, they go, I love that. I don't know what it was, but I loved it.
Well, and like you said, you're continuing to this. In a couple weeks, you're going to be going on your North American tour. You were just in Europe. You'll go back to Europe again this fall. And that's with your band. And I know in 2016, I think it was, you came and performed at one of the Starkey galas with the Hollywood Vampires.
With the Vampires,
And you're going to tour with them next year too, right? So you've got all of the, still interleaving different bands.
That band was everybody in every band that's made it. Now you got Joe Perry from Aerosmith. You've got, guys from all these huge bands, and Johnny. But the thing is, Johnny could play. He's a guitar player. And the idea was, let's put a band together. It's just a bar band. Opposite of what we all do. And let's just go play bars. But we'll play all of the songs from our dead drunk friends. All the guys that we knew that died. The Jim Morrisons, the Jimi Hendrixes, these guys. And we said, okay, great. And, immediately Duff McKagan, I'm in. Joe Perry, I'm in. And all of a sudden I've got this all-star band.
All-star band,
So we played the very first show for 300 people at the Roxy in LA. The second show was Rock in Rio, 250,000 people. And we were doing, covers. We were playing T-Rex. We were playing, I Got a Line on You, by Spirit. All these great songs. And it was so much fun. And then we started writing our own songs. And then pretty soon now, I wasn't expecting to be in two major touring bands.
Right.
It was just supposed to be this.
Well, I loved the performance in 2016, the set that included original material and homage to your favorites. And I can't wait when you guys go on tour again.
So much better now. The band is like, well, here's a good example. We're in Johnny Depp's house. Has got a 72-track studio in it. Wow. And we're in there, and there's myself, and there's Joe Walsh, and there's Joe Perry, and all these guys. And we're playing a song, and McCartney walks in. Paul McCartney walks in. This is royalty now. Now, I've known Paul for a long time, but being in a studio with Paul is a different world. That's like being in an acting class with Sir Laurence Olivier.
Imagine.
So he walks in, he looks around, he goes, okay, you guys should do this song. He sits down at the piano, and he goes, if you want it anytime, come and get it. And when he turns around like this, everybody in the band goes,
yeah. Yeah.
And we're all just like, and as soon as he turns around, we're all, yeah, okay, Paul.
And seeing him in
Well,
the
we're
flow
all of a sudden real
must have
cool,
been amazing.
about it. But when he turned us out, that was the Beatle. Not just a Beatle.
Yeah.
That was the Beatle. And he's the sweetest guy in the world, and he's a vampire now. He's a Hollywood vampire.
That's awesome.
So, but I mean, that just shows you that we can be just as starstruck, as you'd think that we would go, oh yeah, hey, we're going, oh my gosh, I hope I sing this. He said, Alice, you sing this part and I'll sing this part. And I'm going, okay.
Okay, whatever you say.
Inside I'm going, okay. Outside I'm going, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Hope I don't screw up. Well, transitioning from one rock star to another, our own Bill and Tani Austin.
Yeah.
I know you've been a huge friend and supporter to them for a long time. You mentioned Rock in Rio. I think the first time you met Bill and Tani or traveled with them was in Rio.
And we just happened to be down there doing that, and they were coming down and invited us to come in and do the fitting, for the whole thing. There was not a dry eye in the house. They taught us how to fix the things, and some of these people that had never heard, some old ladies that were 90 years old that had never heard their sons or daughters or grandchildren, and they, and little kids that have never heard and suddenly hear their mother's voice for the first time. And and I'm going, Bill, you do this all the time? And he goes, yeah. You see, we do this. People that can't afford these, people that have no chance of ever hearing. And we did it again in Portugal. Yeah. And so I have been a fan of them forever.
Yeah, it's both their life mission.
How can you not be?
How can you not? And that's, I think, the coolest thing about the work that they do is we're happy when people want to provide resources, money or whatever to assist, but everyone wants to also see the magic happen. Yeah. And that's what's cool. People from all walks of earth want to go along. I've been to Africa countless times and seeing, you never get tired of it. No. It's in fact, it's addictive. Yeah. But really a great addiction.
We couldn't wait to do it again in Portugal. And we would do it again. Anytime he wants to do it and we're on tour, we would be the first to jump in and say, hey, we're in, But I mean, that's not just because we're such good guys. It's the fact that it really is something that you are never going to ever experience again. No. It's like people hearing for the first time. Yeah. And it's free. Yeah. They're getting this for free. Yeah. And they had never had a chance of ever getting this.
Yeah, never. Most. I mean, that's exactly right. Most of my work with Tani and Bill has been. I wanted to go to Africa. I wanted to go back to the same place again and again and again, and then you really see people come back and they talk about the impact that better hearing has had on their life. It's an amazing. It's an amazing work.
When you think of Rock in Rio, you'd say, "Wow, we went down there and played for Rock in Rio and we killed them." Yeah. Everybody says, "This thing we did with the hearing aids, that was more important than the show." Yeah. Everybody talked about that, not the show.
Well, and I think it's particularly important for musicians. You talk about the fact, the comedic horror, the cruel fate of musicians who devote their life to their passion is that often they lose their hearing as a result of pursuing their passion. And so I think for them, it's the understanding of how important the ears are to the heart and to the brain.
And we never realized it. Yeah. That was the crazy thing. We're so used to doing it every day that we never realized what it was like to actually hear again. Yeah. We were so used to tinnitus. Yeah. It's just part of, I have tinnitus all the time. I just ignore it. Yeah. But I know it's there. Yeah. And I'm the one turning the TV up so loud, and my wife goes, why is it so loud? And I go, it's perfect. I got my stuff. I got my stuff from Starkey. I put it in, and I turn it on to about there, and it's blasting. Yeah. And I'm hearing it. It's not. And I told him, I said, it's not a hearing aid as much as a clearing aid.
I know it. I love that term that you
because it took all that fuzz.
Yep.
And focused it.
And focused it.
And so I wear mine all the time.
Yeah, I think we need a better name than hearing aid. That still sounds old-fashioned.
Hearing aid sounds like a guy with a
sounds
horn,
modern.
you know, going, what?
Yeah, Beethoven, right?
Yeah.
And it's still a musician, but different era.
Well, and you always picture these big transistor radios
Yeah.
with wires going everywhere, you know.
Well, you know, sadly, a lot of the media to this day, I just saw a recent commercial where they had someone that said a patient is being fit with hearing aids. It looked like it was out of the 70s.
Yeah.
And it had like a wire going up. We haven't fit hearing aids like that for decades.
No. And the great thing is these are the one thing that's negative, and it's just because it's me. I travel a lot, and I go, what did I do with it?
Oh.
It's only this big.
Yep. Yep. Well, we talk about the technology. We now, you know, you have Find My iPhone or Find My
Exactly.
Phone. You can find your hearing aid that way and search for it if it's connected to the phone.
Because Bill's starting to go, you know, again?
Yeah. So, you know, you mentioned ringing in your ears. It's funny that your first band name was
the Earwigs. Yeah.
So Earwig is a tune that sticks in your head. Now, unfortunately, you've got a tune in your head all the time.
And it's a bug that actually crawls in your ear and lays eggs.
Yeah, yeah.
And we figured we were in high school and we were just goofing on the Beatles, you know, and said, well, the Earwigs, that'll be funny. Yeah. That'll be a funny name. Not realizing then we'd be the Spiders.
Right.
And that's when we got to be a good band, really good band, you know. We honestly, none of us, I don't think, ever thought we were going to do this forever. And every guy in the original band is still a musician. Yeah. You know,
that's
they're
right.
all still musicians.
Well,
we still write together.
And now, as you said, that they're the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. Some of them still are alive.
We call us lifers.
Lifers.
Are you a lifer? Yeah, I'm a lifer. In other words, there's no retirement.
Yeah, and well, because again, it's you're pursuing your passion, writing, performing, all of that.
Yeah.
And,
why would I stop?
and it's funny because like now there's this fraternity and sorority of aging rockers. Yeah. Huey Lewis is also somebody that has worked with Bill and Tani.
And had a real
in years. He's given permission to talk about that, but he wants to say hi. He said he was on one of your radio shows.
Nights with
Alice Cooper.
Yeah, now it's called Alice's Attic.
Alice's Attic,
right.
Love it.
So you're coming up into my attic.
Got it, love it.
And it's more of a Friday night horror show because I have characters up in the attic. Yeah. And I get to play everything I want to play.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, so many of those, rock stars who are around loud sounds now are similarly losing their hearing. If you work in a factory or a music factory for long enough, you're going to lose hearing if you don't wear hearing protection.
That's right.
When you were young, as you said, there was no such thing. People weren't doing anything.
There were the great big ear things you could put on if you were working in a factory. They would give you the big, In rock and roll, you didn't have that.
No.
You just turn the guitar up. The worse our hearing got, we kept turning the guitar up.
Now
which made it worse.
I notice in here, this is reminiscent of the scene from Spinal Tap, where they're walking around the music room. The only thing I noticed is none of these amps go to 11.
Yeah, they actually the Princeton does.
Oh, it does. Okay.
And when we were kids, that was the amp.
Love it.
That and the Marshalls came later.
Yep, Marshalls. I had the PV. Those were the low cost one in their day. But
the super reverbs though. Yeah. And the twin reverbs that was the amp.
Yeah. Yeah. And just I remember seeing Nugent perform when he was young. Yeah. He'd stick his ear right in the speaker, and now that one doesn't. Along with Townsend and some of the others, those don't hear very well anymore.
Townsend lost a lot of his hearing when Keith Moon put a half of a stick of dynamite in the drum thing, and when he hit it, on the Smothers Brothers show.
Oh my goodness!
He was just supposed to put a couple of, when he hit it with a bang. That was Keith. He hits it and it blows him off the stage, and it blows out Townsend's ear.
No kidding. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, that was that one show.
And usually it's more insidious than that. It's gradual. That one was an abrupt hearing loss.
Well, with Keith Moon,
everything was abrupt.
Everything was
over the top.
That was a Tuesday for him, by the way.
Yeah.
That was like,
exactly.
That wasn't like
it was just a random Tuesday. Day. Yeah. So, talking about now with the hearing loss and with your hearing aids, has it impacted your ability to monitor your voice and sing and perform? Now, have you had to make any adaptations?
Well, on stage, we use in-ears.
Monitors now.
Yeah. You have to take them out. Yeah. But when I'm doing my radio show, when I'm just daily life, if I don't have this charged, like I forget to charge it, I go, oh. Yeah. Luckily, I have backups, that I use. But it really is irritating now if you forget to to charge it, and it charges for a long time, and you just forget to charge it again.
Yeah.
You know, but that's why I always have 4 or 5 of them on the road.
And it does make you appreciate when you don't have them on.
It does, yeah.
And
I get so tired of going, what? Huh?
yeah, and everyone says, when they find out I'm an audiologist, people will say, huh, what? What is it they are? And it's like, oh, that's the very first time I've ever heard that. But when you talk about, noticing your hearing loss for the first time, do you recall the moment when you began to accept it? Was it Cheryl, your wife, that raised it, or was it you?
Honestly, when I would say maybe 15 years ago, is when I started really going. I'd be watching TV and I'm going, I'm only picking up half of what they're saying. And I'd go, is everybody else having a problem? And they go, no. I go, wow, that's weird, But still, it didn't drive me to the,
Why?
But I just knew I was going to be, that night I was going to be blasted by 10 million decibels. And so you kind of give up. You kind of just say, well, what are you going to do?
It's just a consequence of what I do.
Yeah. And I said, someday I'll probably have to get a hearing aid. They did check my hearing, and I found out how much hearing I had lost. And then they put one of these in, and I went, I could hear perfectly again. And it was just like being reborn again with your ears. I had the same thing done with my eyes. I had symphonic lenses put in. So my eyes are like 2010. Wow. I can read everything on that paper from here.
Wow.
At 76 years old. So I said, I want my eyes or my ears to be as good as my eyes.
So what would you say to some of your contemporaries who may be struggling with hearing loss but aren't doing something about it?
I told Sammy Hagar, I saw Sammy in Maui. We both have houses over there. And I said, Sammy, these are the deals right here, and I'll give you the number. I'll give you the
Sammy
guy.
knows us. He did a mission with us down in Cabo.
And I was surprised to know how many people had already been with you. Elton had been with you, and a bunch of guys that are out there who wised up a little sooner than I did. But I mean, especially metal bands. I mean, metal bands like Metallica and bands like that. 15 years ago, there was no such thing as in-ears. It was just...
Or if they had them, they fit poorly. And if ever you saw a performer, they were on their shoulder rather than in their ears.
70s, 80s, 90s, nobody had ever heard of in-ears. And then all of a sudden, they said, you got to try this. And I went, okay. I'd put one in. Because at that time, you put the in-ears, and it sounded like you were singing through a transistor radio. And I said, I hate that. I got to hear the band. So I would put one in, and that would just keep me, or I could hear sharps or flats. In other words, if I was going a little sharp or a little flat, I said, well, that's good, but I'm not going to put 2 in. And then I would switch it the next night. So this one was in, and that
helped a little, but you're still damaging one ear at a time.
Exactly. And now they've come out with new ones that you put in, and you go, oh, that's the guy mixes it, and it's a band. So prevention is one thing. The monitor is preventing the loss. What about those who have a loss but have been resistant because of whatever stigma or something that's in their head? I think that they almost have to. There's no way of not coming to grips with it. If they want to stay, if they want to record, if they want to keep playing, they've got to come to grips. And now we're not kids. Now we're a little smarter. We go, well, wait a minute. If they make something that makes this better, why wouldn't I go get it? I can certainly afford it.
I think that's the difference with the boomers. Our generation is we're not as stigmatized, but we have higher expectations about what they can do. You said you're a technophile, but a techno slow to adapt, but also at the same time the technology that we have in the devices, we use artificial intelligence and machine learning, and you just kind of put them in and just wear them and count on them to provide that benefit in every environment.
I'll write the songs, I'll record the songs. You make my ears better. I don't know how it works. You don't have to tell me how it works. I don't have to tell you how I wrote the song. It's the song. The song is there. And then I pick this up and I go, and if they start telling me, I go, it works. That's all I care about.
Well, your willingness to sort of say, hey, I have a hearing loss, which is expected after playing music all this time, and to raise awareness for the importance of hearing, for being willing to talk about hearing aids and use of those, and wearing hearing aids is not a big deal. That will be inspirational to so many people like myself who've admired you for years.
Oh, thank you.
And know that you want to hear the very best you can at every point in life.
And I know that it's coming.
Yeah.
I know this is coming because of technology. But when I have this in and I'm in Germany watching Star Trek and I go boom and it's in English, that's what I want to see.
We already can do translation, which is cool.
I want that.
Before we finish, and I really appreciate the time with you, I want to talk a little bit about your Solid Rock Foundation. We're sitting in this beautiful facility. Tell us a little bit about what the mission is for that.
I'll tell you how it started. I watched a very awkward drug deal go down with two 16-year-old kids on bicycles. Wow. And I went, how does that kid not know he might be the best guitar player in town? And the other kid might be the best drummer. And it dawned on me, there was no way that was ever going to happen because there was no facility to ever make that happen, especially in a lower income area. You know, they can't afford to go to a music school, even if they're talented. I said, so I got it's a Christian nonprofit. And I said, I got a bunch of Christian businessmen together.
Wow.
And I said, I want to open this mini Juilliard, except I want it to be free for everybody.
Wow.
Any teenager. And we say any teenager.
I love it.
And so we get kids come in and they kind of like, you know, well, I don't know. And I said, well, try everything. I said,
try everything and find what's your jam.
And then every once in a while they'll come in and they'll go, I don't want to do that. And, it's not good. And, wait a minute. Well, I got natural rhythm.
Drummers,
and then next thing you know, these kids are, I've got some guitar players I'd put in my band in here that are that good. And they started out not knowing one end of the guitar to the other. And they're just because they were naturals. And we have good teachers. Yeah. You know, they get them go in the right direction. Let the kid take off then.
Got a pretty good dance teacher, I think. Here,
too.
Yeah,
yeah, sure. My wife is, you know, there's 2 or 3 great dance teachers in here. And they're all professionals. People would think, well, because it's free, it can't, you know, the teaching can't be that good. It's top of the line. Yeah, I mean, these people are top of the line people.
I think this facility is phenomenal, and I think what you're doing is impressive. I saw Cheryl briefly a little bit earlier today, and congratulations, you're on your 48th year of marriage, which is unusual in music and in Hollywood. You got any big plans for the 50th that you can share?
Yeah, it's coming up. Yeah, I don't know what exactly we're going to do, but one of the guys in Cheap Trick, Rick, is like 52 years. Wow. Dee Snider is up there. Yeah. There's some long marriages
really cool.
in rock and roll. And that's the way it should be.
Well, and I think, don't you wear a bracelet that only Cheryl has the key to?
This is my, when we got married, she gave me a gold handcuff.
I think that's really cool. A gold handcuff, and she has the key, and she's the sole owner of the key.
You should see where the other one is.
Okay, and we'll leave it on that because this is PG rated. You got me there for a minute. But thank you so much for sitting down with us today. Thanks for all that you do, and I really appreciate it. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, please like and review it, subscribe so you don't miss a single episode, and listen carefully, and we'll look to see you and hear you again really soon. Thanks so much.
Good rehearsal. Let's do it for real now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.